Today I'd like to talk about the Nolan Principles of Public Office, which I'm sure you're all aware of. One of these principles is openness. Holders of public office should act and take decisions in an open and transparent manner. Information should not be withheld from the public unless there are clear and lawful reasons to do so. I'll be focusing on openness and transparency, or the lack of, in relation to the World Heritage Site Advisory Committee, which is made up entirely of Glastonbury Town Council councillors and was set up in November 2022. The Advisory Committee was initially set up with a membership of 13 out of the 16 councillors on Glastonbury Town Council. Between November 22 and March 2024, 10 meetings were held and minuted. Since then, quarterly meetings have been continued but are no longer minuted. The previous minutes, which had been available on the council website, were removed around June of this year without explanation. I've managed to obtain a copy of the minutes, and here are some highlights. The committee clerk provided members with a breakdown of costs for each of the stages of the application process, as kindly supplied by P. Simmons and C. Pound. So the recommendations to the January full council meeting was to approve £42,000 worth of tender for the first phase of the World Heritage Consultants over a 2-year period. Is anything budgeted for phase 2? We don't know, because we the people haven't been told. All councillors were asked to make a positive feature for the town and reduce negativity, because they knew they'd get some kind of pushback. The local community and stakeholders, meaning the assets like the Abbey and Chalice Well, all the landowners, were to be kept informed of each phase of the project, as they could derail the process, apparently. It was agreed that communication strategy would be drawn up. The consultants discussed the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention questionnaire. Are the consultants planning to apply for both intangible cultural heritage and World Heritage status? These are separate UN conventions. It was confirmed that the Department of Cultural Media and Sport and Historic England have been advised that Glastonbury wishes to be added to the tentative list. UNESCO and DCMS have been both contacted, and they have recorded and logged the information as requested by the committee. So the committee have actually, they've gone through this process already without any recourse to the people. In the Working Party minutes of March 2025, John Cousins' summary included, note, NB, Glastonbury has not yet been put forward for consideration to be included in the UK tentative list. Now this needs clarification because it seems otherwise. The consultants gave the committee a quarterly report on the progress. It was recommended that the quarterly reports are uploaded onto the Glastonbury Town Council website. This hasn't happened. There have been a number of freedom of information requests raised with the council, which have elicited some very alarming omissions in due process. After numerous requests, a redacted copy of the consultant's contract has been made available. Let's just say, reading it, it's obvious why the council was so reluctant to give it up. This contract can be made available to the public. The town of Glastonbury and any other closely associated attributes were to be included on the United Kingdom's tentative list for World Heritage Site status, with an intention of pursuing a nomination to be inscribed on UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites. So it's far more along the process than the people ever thought. The consultants will represent the findings of the emerging scoping study at regular interview meetings with Glastonbury Town Council World Heritage Advisory Committee on or about a quarter day. So why not the working group, which represents the people? They're being kept out of the information loop. So one other thing was that they had to submit Form B2 to government to achieve tentative list status, and that depends on the Department of Digital, Cultural Media and Sport response, and this has to happen by December 2025, and they have to agree Phase 2 contract by the end of December 2025. So the costs associated with this contract is over £42,000. It's a huge amount of money. Anyway, Phase 2 is they want to hold an academic conference They want to create a research team and appoint other specialists. They want to establish a full project team for nomination development, appoint a project coordinator and key working groups, all in the first half of 2026. This sounds like a lot of more highly expensive activities. Have the consultants quoted a cost for phase 2 yet? Strikingly absent is any mention of an impact assessment, previously expected to take place in 2026 per consultants, and any consultation with the residents. So no impact, and there's been no list of pros and cons been submitted, or indeed asked for. There's some highlights. Here's some highlights from a recent Freedom of Information request. I'll just go through these quickly. The first one was have all records, notes or minutes showing when and how the public was first consulted before the WHS scoping process was initiated. Are there any records or notes of showing when the public were first consulted? And the town clerk's response was the public was not consulted before the World Heritage Status scoping exercise was initiated. So that's obvious that they did it without consent of the people. Records of responses received from the public and how these were evaluated or acted upon. And the responses, the clerk says, the responses from the open days are held by our consultants and in accordance with data protection legislation. All communication that is received, such as emails, are considered by the council and its consultants at joint meetings, but not really so that we can know what's been said. Now, on the decision-making process, minutes of the meetings where the WHS scoping study was first proposed, discussed and approved. And the clerk's answer to that is the minutes are already in the public domain, but actually, no, they've been removed from the website, so we can't see them. External influences. Any correspondence between Glastonbury, we need to see any correspondence between Glastonbury Town Council or its representatives and external bodies, including DCMS, Department of Cultural Media and Sport, Historic England, UNESCO, Somerset Council, relating to the WHS bid prior to and during the scoping exercise. And the clerk's response is no correspondence between the Town Council and the bodies you have listed has been made. At this stage, the Council is seeking to establish whether any potential future bid, if a decision is taken into progress with any bid, may be worthwhile. This is not true because the Department of Culture, Media and Sport and English Heritage have already been contacted. Extracts from John Cousin's paper written in October 2022 in support of the WHS bid. World Heritage Status designation continues a new tangible community asset that would link to local inclusive growth. This is what John says. The acquisition of this new CAPEX, which means capital expenditure, asset, would be the ultimate capitalisation and development of Glastonbury's brand, extending brand quality, equity and substantiality, adding value through conscious culture, sport and heritage investment, and the CAPEX benefit lasting in perpetuity. So he wants to create a brand for Glastonbury. Were we aware we were turning into a brand and being capitalised? I think the people need to know this. And quite honestly, a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. Achieving World Heritage Status designation, this is what he says, and the journey towards it helps to generate a strategic, holistic plan to harmonise with Glastonbury's Town Deal, Town Investment Plan, to help address inequalities. I don't mean to say addressing inequalities. Town Deal has done nothing to address these inequalities, just to boost the value of the council's assets. So all the money that was generated from the Town Deal, none of it has gone to the people. It has gone to embellish the assets that they already have, meaning the buildings that they already have. And the final bit is we need to make some demands. All meetings regarding World Heritage Status to be fully minuted and minutes made public. Future cost estimates must be made public. All public feedback made public. When would an impact assessment be done? Cost and funding sources. A public referendum should be set up prior to any decision whether to continue with phase 2. And going back to the Nolan principles, selflessness. Holders of public office should act solely in the terms of public interest. This council is not acting in the public interest. How much louder do we have to shout? The people of Glastonbury do not want World Heritage, as its local support is a prerequisite for UNESCO to accept a nomination. Just stop it now.